What did that one teacher do to you that you'll never forget? 3rd grade Mrs. Jones. My dad had just deserted us and we were suddenly destitute. She bought my school pictures for us and paid my lunch bill all year. She never said a word about it. Only found out later. Bless her. In 5th grade I had this teacher who was very gruff. Most of us didn't like her because she was such a hard ass. Like military style with discipline and homework completion. She wasn't mean, but she wasn't nice either. Then I found out my parents were getting a divorce. I showed up to school one day visibly upset, kinda shaky, and had obviously been crying. She basically grunt rasped but decidedly undecided, "Hallway." Now. I was so not in the mood to be scolded and I knew I was a mess. I stomped out into the hallway. She told me she knew what was happening at home, asked me if I was okay, then listened to me sob and break down about how I felt. She gave me a hug and asked if I wanted to spend an hour or so in the library since she knew I loved books and then I could ground myself. It was so unexpectedly kind. I will never forget it. I found out later she was so gruff and short with us because she'd been teaching for a long ass time and kids are mean. She had some sort of health condition that left her in pain most of the time and she had to use a cane which caused her to hunch a bit. Over the years all the meanness of the kids made her a little hard and cold. But she really did care about her students. Gruff and cold with a heart of gold. Senior year I was placed in a freshman typing class. Everyone else was chatty and goofed off, but I wanted to learn to type, so I really put in a lot of effort. I only had 2 classes in the morning, and the rest of the day I was a waitress, as I was pretty much on my own in my senior year. I got called into work on the day of our class final, so I went to work and missed the final. When I showed up to class the next day, I apologized to the teacher for missing the final. He asked me, "Do you want to know the grade you got?" When I replied yes, he said, "I gave you an A because if you had been here, that's what you would have gotten." I never forgot that. Thank you, Mr. Wyatt. Edit, thank you for asking a question that gave me the opportunity to share a great experience. I was really shocked when I checked Reddit after work. I did not expect much, I was just sharing a fond memory, but it's really fun when something blows up. You made his old lady's day, thank you. Edit 2, am beyond thrilled at the awards, y'all rock. Wow, that's a different kind of teacher. When I look back, I remember him coming into the Denny's I worked at early on Sunday mornings. He told me he had a side job for the San Francisco Chronicle delivering the Sunday paper to my rural hometown. I think he knew we were both trying really hard to navigate our then situations. Me supporting myself my senior year of high school, him with a second job. A mutual respect, so to speak. I don't know if that had anything to do with it or not, but I have often wondered. This was in 1979. I don't think that would happen today. Edit, I think it was the last half of my senior year, which would make it 1980. He's a teacher, he taught you empathy. I'm not saying you didn't know it before, though. I faked my way through 4th and 5th grade math. I never understood how to do long division, but managed to hide that from the teachers and answer test questions by reverse multiplication, basically guess a number and multiply it out and see how close I would get, and keep doing it until I got the answer. My 6th grade math teacher figured out that I was faking, and had no idea how to actually divide anything. She had me come in one afternoon to help with cleaning the erasers. All the kids fought for this privilege, so I was thrilled, sat me down and tutored me until I grasped the concept. Bless you, Mrs. Gillespie. Basically guess a number and multiply it out and see how close I would get, and keep doing it until I got the answer. That's not faking, you discovered binary search lol. I mean, their guesses weren't necessarily in the middle of any set of numbers. It's the same idea as binary search, but if I just showed someone a process where I guessed randomly and kept correcting it, they wouldn't call that binary search. The professor I had for my Calculus 100 class in university was awesome. He was a good teacher and funny and engaging. If it was a first-year class with over 100 people in it, I was just a face in a big crowd. I was on campus after hours a couple of years after I graduated. They run programs for kids in the evenings and was dropping off my oldest, and I saw him. He stopped, looked at me hard, and said first name last name. Not a bad student. Not great. But definitely not bad. And kept walking. This was a good 6 years after I graduated. Absolutely amazed he would have remembered me at all after teaching how many hundreds of students in between. That is just crazy. I had the opposite with my high school band director. When I was a senior in high school, I was walking down the hall with 2 of my friends who were also in band. At this point, I had been in band with this teacher for almost 4 years, saw him every day, and had one-on-one auditions and regular individual performance exams with him. He saw us walking by and greeted us, "Hey John." "Hey Jennifer." "Hey." Drawing a complete blank on my name. I didn't take it too personally. He was really nice, but he was one of those people who was really focused on the music to the exclusion of everything else and was kind of flaky. I wouldn't be surprised if he identified us all in his head by our instruments and the sound of our playing first and faces and names a distant second. Lol. I know a couple band directors like this for sure. At my high school, we had an annual week-long science trip, fully paid for by fundraising. Only 4 people were selected to go each year. My sophomore year, I was chosen. I knew there was no way I was going to be allowed to go. I had never been out of the state, never been on a single vacation, never been on a plane, and never been away from home for more than 24 hours. My parents were incredibly conservative and immediately said no. I had a science teacher who just didn't accept the no. Instead of just giving up and selecting someone else, he called and tried to convince my parents. When that didn't work, he came to my house and had dinner with my family to convince my dad that I would be an asset and he would be doing me a disservice by not letting me go. He sat and ate my mom's terrible cooking and talked to my parents for over 2 hours until he got a "we'll think about it." Then he just kept following up. I had never had someone in my corner like that before, who was willing to go to bat for me like that. He wore them down, and it was the best week of my teenage life. I'd never seen the ocean. 20 years later, and I can still recall every detail of that trip. It was a major pivot point for me. Had a high school art teacher who would let me stay in his classroom during lunches. Always gave me half his sandwich and other extra food because he knew I didn't eat much otherwise. Edit, he would also keep a drawer in the classroom stocked with snacks so that I could swing by and grab something between classes if I needed. No, he never did anything questionable, and no, I never fell asleep after eating the sandwiches. He was just a kind person. Smile. Sweet smile. I called somebody stupid once when they got a question wrong and the teacher instantly made me stand up and spell stupid backwards. Got it wrong with the pressure and learned a lesson that day. Memorize stupid backwards before calling someone else stupid. Got it. Just turn around, facing the other way, and just spell it normal. Edit, this comment? Right here? I'll never figure out how Reddit works. Who are you, so wise in the ways of science? Had 10 minutes to spare before lunch bell and he told us all to go jerk off or whatever it is you do. I don't know what he wanted to say and he apologized to us, but it was funny as hell. Edit, thanks for the awards, kind strangers. Probably just a funny dude who let his real personality come through too much for the job. Absolutely. We had a good laugh. I can't remember what I did, but in first grade my teacher got mad at me and said, "You want to act like a baby? Fine, come over here." She made me sit in a corner on the floor and gave me 2 little toys to play with. That must have been nice, oh, and embarrassing. Yeah, it was embarrassing but funny. She would yell at me, "Keep playing." If I looked up to see what everyone else was doing, haha. I was kind of horrified by your first comment. Then this one made me laugh out loud in spite of myself. That's so horrible and hilarious. I'm so sorry. Called my mom while she was at work to tell her I'd written one of the best things he'd ever seen as a teacher. I wrote a term paper in psychology class and got an A. The following year my GF had the same class and the teacher passed around a copy of my term paper as an example of what he expected, a rubric. That was a great feeling. My 7th grade language arts teacher asked if she could read the story I had written out loud to the class. I loved writing and that was the greatest confidence boost I could gotten. "Hey James, can I read your story to the class?" "Sure thing, Ms. Wyatt." "Right kids, listen up. James wrote a story and it's the ducking worst thing ever. Don't be like James. Frown.